Musiker-board. I'm very pleased to be backstage with Verheyen. I hope you enjoyed your time in Germany so far.
Yeah.
And today it's going to be a place in Wetzlar that you, although it's quite in the countryside, visited quite often already.
Yeah, it's a great club. It's been on our stop for years. Right when I first started coming over here in 1997,
Okay.
we probably played here every year for a while. And then it seemed to be like we didn't. I changed agents and we didn't.
Okay.
But it's good to be back. I did it last year too. It's really fun. Or maybe in 2014 with Stuart Ham on bass.
Okay.
So,
from what we collected on the forum, just to remind you, musiker-board is the biggest German language forum talking about gear in the main place and music.
Wonderful.
So obviously there's a gear page and a music page on the piece. You can decide which one you want to start with.
Let's go gear first.
Okay, let's go gear first. With your roots in studio work, basically having all of the arsenal of the world at your hands.
Right. Yeah.
Downsizing for a tour like this is how hard, and what would you go for?
Well, I divide my life up into different rigs, and the live rig is different from the studio rig. Okay. The studio rig can get, with the various amps I can bring and effects I can bring and rack effects and pedal effects and Leslie's and various guitars, I can pretty much get any sound.
That's like truck and trailer.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff, right? But when I do the live thing, it's number one is the sound of my band, right? So the sound of my band is really only like 3 or 4 sounds, but they're all as good as they can be.
Okay.
So the very best clean sound, the very best distortion sound, the very best crunch sound, and the very best full saturated sound. So I've worked out a way with a pedal board and then an arsenal of amps that I keep in Europe and another batch I keep in Los Angeles. I've worked out a way to travel between the continents with just a guitar or two and a pedal board that runs both systems.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah.
If you would have to reduce it further, is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, last night we played in Berlin and we looked at the size of the stage and we said, the stage will hold my rig only.
Okay.
So I need to do something so that we can have bass and drums on stage. So I actually played out of a Fender Twin and a pedal board that's this big by this big. It's got one distortion, one delay, a reverb, and a tuner. Okay. And it's all I needed. And we changed our show up a bit. There's songs that really need the big rig, and then there's songs that you can get away with without it.
Okay.
So
I've been watching the Sweetwater video, and of course that was sweet to watch.
Oh, great!
Because it showed what you can do. And at one point I wasn't sure if it just happened that way or if there's a system behind it. On the one song in the video you were trying the Strat in the first place.
Oh yeah.
And then went towards the Les Paul for the sound. And the point I was wondering about is you played the Les Paul standing up instead of being on a high chair. Yeah. Is that a permanent?
Well, Les Pauls for me, I'm really a Strat player.
Yeah, we know.
And Les Pauls are way over here for me.
Okay.
They don't feel like they sit out on your body where a Strat does. They seem like they're to the right. And so when you're playing up high, your hands are way over here, whereas on a Strat, they're more like right here.
If you now consider my belly.
Yeah. So my thing with Les Paul is I always like to play it standing up.
Okay.
It's much easier for me. And I have 3 Les Pauls. I have an old 1954 gold top that's really wonderful. And it's as light as a Strat. It's really a great guitar. Cool. But that one that I played in that video is one of my favorites. It's a 1972, which isn't that special of a year for Gibson, but I took some old PAFs that I had in a 175 and put them in. So it's sort of the poor man's 58 Les Paul.
Poor man's 58.
Exactly.
Other videos out there, and that was basically one of the first ones I was falling over when looking for you, is the tremolo setup.
Oh yeah.
And the guys on the forum were asking first which string gauge you use for that, and do you think it works with different string gauges? And is the intervals that come out of it, was that your desired target or the only way to tweak it?
My desired target was to like just bar the 5th fret, play a chord, and have the whole thing go down a half step musically. But once I got into trying to get that, I found that the low strings go down much more in pitch and the high strings go down less. But along the way, trying to find that balance, I found these 3 intervals: a minor third on the G string, a B string, a whole step, and a half step on the E string. And then, you know, I started doing it and started telling people about it, and pretty soon somebody said, "Can you make a video about it?" And pretty soon, you know, it got 3,000 hits, and I made a second video about it for Dean Markley strings, and you know, it's interesting because I have 14 Stratocasters, and only one of them is a hardtail. All the rest are set up that way, and I really miss it when I don't have it, you know. So.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the other way around. I set up my Strats that the trem is basically not
flat,
not completely hard on it, but if you go 3/2, you keep a ringing E string in tune.
Right.
And only if you go further, it will detune.
Okay, interesting.
So, because the full on never really worked. It just needs to be pressed on, but not completely connected. It sounds a bit better if it's...
I think it does. I think when you look at the patent, you know, Leo Fender's patent for the floating tremolo bridge, it says... it shows it just a little bit off, just a little bit of an angle. Yeah. Now, so he wasn't concerned about intervals. He was concerned about just being able to shake a chord, you know, and that's a great sound too, which I love, you know. So. Oh, one more thing. Yeah. I use 9 to 46. So 9, 11, 16, 26, 36, 46. Okay. I have for many years, only because the 9, when you're pulling against a 9, it feels like a 10 when you're pulling against springs. Back. And I put 10s on my Gibson.
And the longer scale length.
Yeah. I put 10s on my Gibson guitars. So.
And the last one on the gear page is why LSL? I mean, did nobody else approach it, which would be hard to believe. But as far as I understood, you went to your neighbor on your own.
No, but Fender approached me and said we would like to make a signature Carl Verheyen model. And they flew me from Los Angeles to Scottsdale, Arizona, where they're located. And I had some nice meetings with them, but their idea was, I have this 1961 Seafoam green Strat that I used to play constantly, even take it on the road. Yeah. They said they would like to make that guitar and make 40 of them, exactly that instrument, make 40 of them and charge $6,000. And I said, you know, each, and I said, what I want is a guitar that's made for people to play, not collectors to put in there. You know, put the Carl Verheyen model in under glass. I want players to get out and play it, set up the way I do with the tremolo, set up with the way I have the tone knobs, and you know, I wire my tone knobs. The middle one goes to the neck and middle position, and the bottom tone knob goes to the back pickup. I just think that's the pickup that needs a tone knob more than anything.
More than anything, I agree.
So anyway, they wanted to do it this way, and I wanted to do it that way. So I was already friends with Lance Lerman at LSL, and he's calling me a lot, asking me about Stratocasters because he knew I was really into it. He says, "We're going to make a Strat, and I want to, you know, tell me how it should be." So we finally settled on, well, why don't we take our lightest wood, because I like light guitars, our lightest alder wood, and set it aside for the CV model, for my model. And then then they took a measurement of course, the neck, and then the output of each pickup. And using the output of each pickup, finding that was difficult because you can measure the output of a pickup on the pickup, but you have to measure it on the jack, because that's where, you know, it's been attenuated a little bit by the tones and by the volume. So anyway, so we came to what I think is a really great solution, you know.
Okay.
So the one I usually play, the #1 CB Special,
which is the blue one.
The blue one. I left it at home this time and brought the studio model.
Okay.
And I'm enjoying just something different, you know. Just
yeah, it was when I was looking at it, the studio model has now the black pickup, right?
Yeah, it's got a black pickup.
The regular Verheyen white one has a white pickup as well.
Yeah, but I changed some pickups. I'm going through, you know, hearing some different pickups because you know, to me, when you have noiseless pickups, it's always a compromise.
Yes.
So I'm looking for noiseless pickups that don't sound like that. And currently what I have in there are some Fishman pickups.
Okay.
And they sound great. I'm really enjoying them.
Looking forward to that sound.
Yeah, it's different.
That's for sure.
So
that would have been the gear side, unless you want to add something.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Sounds good to you? Okay. Okay, I assumed that we start on the music side, so the congratulations to the new album.
Oh, thank
As a reminder on that side,
yeah.
which should have been the first, but
no, that's fine.
Congratulations! I like it as a real good showcase of what you can do.
Oh, great!
It has a bunch of like a big bulbous flowers in it.
Oh, great! That's a nice review.
Yeah. Being kind of the can-do-all musician with all the options that you have at your hand from learning at different stages. Is there an influence where you feel that it always sneaks through whatever else you try?
Well, let me think about that. I would say that there's a certain pop influence that I got from people like George Harrison, you know, and there's a certain blues influence that I picked up very young from people like Mike Bloomfield and Eric Clapton and Cream, you know. I think those are always going to be there, the bending notes and the soulful type playing.
Okay.
But then on the other side of songwriting and craft, you know, to be able to pull out a Rickenbacker 12-string for this part and double the acoustics for this part and maybe a Dane Electro for a little bingy, poingy part, you know, in the middle of the song. That's another whole side that I try to bring into my music too.
Okay. Within the Sweetwater video, there was a portion where you said you kind of do sequential work. You had some open items with TrueFire, where you have plenty of really good lessons on there. And
yes,
you weren't able to finish kind of the last song.
Yeah. That was interesting. I had to spend most of August working out these courses for TrueFire. One was a country music and one was jazz fusion. And I knew I needed one more song to write for the last recording sessions in September. Okay. And I had no ideas. But the minute I set my guitar down at the end of those tapings, bam, I just started playing something, and you know, now I'm free. And we're probably going to play that song tonight. It's called Angels, and it's really fun to play. Okay.
Sequential work part 2 would be, you work plenty with sheet music. You can read them and fluent enough to play along to them.
Right.
Instead of like me, would be more like a typewriter, like the eagle searching for a key.
Right.
Is that focusing your mind so that you will stay on the sheet music every time, or do you allow yourself to wander away from that and do something else?
If you're sight reading music, like in a television show soundtrack, or a movie date, or a jingle, or even somebody's record date where you have to read parts, you know, then the most important discipline is training your eyes to keep moving. Okay. So while you're reading the second half of bar 4, while you're playing the second half of bar 4, you're looking at bar 5. Yeah, the first half of bar 5. Then while you're playing that, you're looking at the second half. And so sight reading was something that took me, you know, a while to get, and I was actually losing work because I didn't sight read very well, and other guys did, and they got my work, you know. Okay. So, but now when you're playing, when I'm playing my own music, yes, it's written down, but since I wrote it, I know it, and I'm able to stretch it and move it around. And
it felt, when looking at the Sweetwater video again, it felt like, because there was sheet music all over in the video, but you were playing your solo pretty good, and then it looks like there's a reconfirmation look.
Right. Well, so when you're playing, I think in that video, you know, I was playing over some chord changes and I was improvising, and I had nothing worked out. So I had to sort of read the chord changes
Okay.
going by and say, oh, this is an E flat chord, and then here's an F minor, and here's a C7, and you know. So it was a little bit like that, and I think it's very important to be able to write down your music so that I can hand a chart to the drummer, I can hand a chart to the bass player at the studio. They've never seen it before, and we can pull it together, you know.
Agreed. Your hearing, is that an absolute or relative hearing?
It's pretty good right now. Like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to sing a C. C! That's C natural. Now, if you're on your computer at home,
we bring the
grab a guitar and
out,
see if it is. I don't have a guitar here, but it's usually C is, I wake up knowing where C is. You know, it might be a little flat or a little sharp, but... So with that, I can get all the other notes.
Of course. Yeah.
So once you know C, then you can sing up a sixth or up a fourth or a fifth and know where that stuff is. So.
Where's your home? Studios, big stage, bar?
Ooh. Yeah, I would say that I'm equally as comfortable and happy in the studio working on creative music as I am playing my own music to people that appreciate it. Okay. And so, you know, the difference is when I play with Supertramp on a giant stage for 20,000 people, all I have to do is play the beginning of Give a Little Bit and they all stand up, right, and they go crazy. But when I'm playing with my own band, we have to somehow bring them in the first song and pull them in and win them over. And I think that's a bigger challenge. But in many ways, it's more rewarding.
Rewarding as well. Yeah.
So we played in Hamburg on Saturday night and this last week, and I could see the whole front 2 or 3 rows of people were singing along. And that
this time without mobile phone. The girl in Stuttgart.
Not like the distracting girl, right? Yeah, the whole front row was the front 2 or 3 rows. They were singing lyrics, and I was thinking, man, that is so rewarding. Yeah. You know, a song I wrote in my kitchen back in 1996, they know the words to, which makes me really happy.
Which is basically probably the best you can get out of it.
Yeah.
That immediate interaction.
Yeah, that super reward right back. So.
From sheet music into your fingers. How long does that process take until you feel comfortable? Because you said you want to be prepared because the sheet music might fly out of the window.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can sight read, so I can play what's on the page instantly. As a studio musician, you need to be able to sound like you've been playing it for 30 years, as opposed to, what is this? You know, you need to have that confidence. And, so in a hired gun situation, that's what I do. You know, I try to play it with the bends and with the vibrato, and if needed, you know, the music might say in the style of ZZ Top. Okay. So my brain goes to, that's Billy Gibbons. He's got a Les Paul through like a Fender Champ amp, you know, or something. Tweed amp. He has the Texas shuffle instead of the Chicago shuffle. And so what you end up with is, here's my impersonation of Billy Gibbons. Okay. Now that is what I call being a craftsman. You know? Yeah. It's less about being an artist. It's more about being a craftsman. Sometimes I compare it to a plumber who comes in and looks under your sink and says, well, I need a pipe wrench and I need a street L and a.
Yeah, but the next time it's going to use 3 different tools for the same purpose, which is the fun part of it, of being the craftsman.
Yeah. That's really cool to mix and match and try to come up with what they need. And, so that's one thing. Being an artist is a different mentality. Here's a D chord, right? How do I want a D chord to sound? You know, do I want to voice it here or put a ninth in it or play a big wide open voicing or a tight voicing triad? You know, so that's the artist in me saying, in this song it needs to be this. So,
if you kind of start with the sheet music, your fingers have learned the stuff in case you do it more than once. At what time does feel come into it? You said that you have to sound like you're feeling it right out of the box without too much practice, but do you feel for yourself there's one point where you go the extra mile?
Yeah, you play it down once, find out where everything is, find out what position it's in, you know, because position is everything. And for those of you learning how to sight read, I'll give you a little advice. Always try to read in the position where the scale occurs under your hands with no stretches or position changes. So you don't want to read the key of G, which is 1 sharp, in the 5th position, because you have to double back to reach the F sharp and the B. What you want to do is read it in the 3rd or the 7th, where it just lays. That really helps, because then any sharps or flats will be out of the scale that you know so well. So you read it down to find out the best place to play it, maybe make a few notes, like I need to be in the 7th position here, then up to the 12th position here. And then maybe the second time through, all right, now I'm going to play it with the right feeling and vibrato and you know, there's always that first run through to get it right.
Which for me would still sound incredible quick, and I believe for everybody out there as well. What, you can do that in 2 runs? No way!
Oh man, it's easy.
Practice time. Which would be the last one, because you have to do sound check and practice.
Right. Practice,
hopefully not, but
I better know it by now.
Yeah, should better know it by now. But with all the multiple influences that you have to provide, do you kind of split up the practice times there? Today it's going to be jazz, tomorrow it's going to be blues, or whatever is on the agenda?
That's a really good question. For years, I've just tried to keep myself interested. So if I'm working on some Chet Atkins stuff for 3 days, by the end of the 3 days and I've got it down, I'm tired of Chet Atkins. I want to play Albert King stuff, or I want to play, you know, my own lines, or I want to work on, you know, a performance I've got coming. So I never like to what we call compartmentalize. I never divide it up into 15 minutes of classical guitar, 15 minutes of country guitar, 15 minutes of sight reading. I think that's a mistake. I think what you need to do is say, hey, I'm really interested in this Derek Trucks slide stuff. I'm going to work on that till I'm done, till you're there. Yeah, till you're there. Well, you'll never be there.
No, of course not.
You know, but if you work on it for 5 days and then you're getting, I'm tired of having the slide, I'm going to work on some finger picking.
I need to throw some new skin under the slide.
Yeah, exactly. So practice, I mean, the other thing I like to do is I'm always working on lines, you know, so my own lines, whether they're for C minor or B flat 7th or A major 7th or pentatonics or minor, harmonic minor, melodic minor. I'm always trying to work on my lines and get them under my hands. A little bit of transcribing, all that stuff, you know.
So folks, that's all the time that we have due to sound check and a concert that I'm going to watch as my pay for this.
All right, yeah.
I know. That's how I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And Carl, many thanks for the time.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to be in Los Angeles for NAMM show. I don't know if you're in LA. I'm going to see Lance Lehman and LSS do a factory report from before NAMM.
So. Oh, that'll be great, yeah.
And that would end up with a gear question, the final question. What do you think will surprise me most making a factory tour at LSL?
Let's see. I would say the most interesting thing that this new factory, because he started in a small place,
in his original house,
and now and then he moved into a pretty good sized place, and now he's in a big place, and so he's got various areas where the wood's being cut, and then it's being painted, and then there's assembly, and there's wiring and pickups and all that, and then the final stage is the setup. The thing that surprises me most is how much of the work Lance does himself. He's always getting into things, sandpaper out and working on stuff. It's amazing. So, but he just made me, so I have 3 already, and he just made me a 4th one. This is a humbucker in the back and a P90 in the front. And it's hollow. It's like a thin line telly. What a sound, man. And those 2 pickups work really well together. I was surprised. So.
Oh, cool. I'm going to look forward to that.
Yeah.
Look forward for the music to be played, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Ain't gonna worry my